Hey guys, I hope you're doing all well. I just wanted to do a quick video which will give you a bit of an insight into what's to come in the boot camps. It's just a good example of today's price action on EU and how we can anticipate and project price. And yeah, so it's just a quick example just for the community. It's not for YouTube or anything else, so you guys are the only ones having access to this. So make some notes, make sure to enjoy it, watch it, and yes, make notes specifically so that you can have questions when we do the bootcamp, because then I'll be explaining this again and we will go into more depth, into more detail with it. So I hope this will give you an overview of my trading plan in video format, and it's the main things that I look at, and you can start applying these principles in your own trading as well. So we're going to look at the high time frame direction analysis, looking at 15-minute analysis, Asian session and projections, session high anticipation, and then entries as well. So those are the 5 things, the main things that we basically need to be concerned with. And then we're going to look at identifying liquidity. Where is the liquidity and where do we find liquidity? I've done a poll to ask people on Instagram, like, what do they want to see on YouTube, and what do people want to see more of? And a lot of people ask for liquidity, and unfortunately for them, exactly how I'm explaining it now is just meant for the community, but it's something that people really struggle with, and they're not always sure how to anticipate it or how to identify it. Where is the liquidity? How do we know we have liquidity? Those are questions that people ask, and they not always sure of the answer. It's a very highly asked question. So good for you guys, because I will be discussing it now again in some detail. And yes, let's have a look. So as you all know from the analysis this week, this is our range that we're moving in, and we know this by looking at the last 20 days. I think the last 20 days line was, can't exactly remember when, on Monday, but nonetheless we have our low and our high, so that is the range that we are trading within, and we're always moving from a premium to a discount. So we want to see price move down the 50% mark and into discount. There's a discount BOI, hold low, and then obviously we have order blocks and stuff in this area, but overall the direction then is bearish. So just from the 4-hour point of view, we can identify a few things. So if we look at our diagram, liquidity point A can be 1 hour, off hour, 4 hour, but order block and previous high and low, and we have that over here. So we have an order block and we have this previous high over there. So they already, this is a reference point. In this area we can look for trades. This is the 4 hour, so we have that. Dropping down to the 1 hour, then we can refine this area even more. So we can refine it towards that candle. We have a pre-old high, so let's label this now just a bit further. We have an order block, and we have previous high. This is, remember, this is the 1 hour. Now we can see that we have now potentially a setup 2 or number 2 profile happening over here. So we can just type to liquidity profile. Liquidity profile. So we can potentially see that in this, I just want to quickly do this and just take so that it stays there. So potentially, well, we see it worked out, but we have a type 2 liquidity profile, which is an order block and a previous high low on the 1 hour. So then we drop to the 50 minutes. It does seem like cherry picking, but it's not, so you'll understand now. On the 50 minutes, we need to look now at, so we know the area and we know the liquidity. So if we just quickly do this so that no one is tempted to look at the answers. So now we're looking at our Asian session. So we look at Asian session, which is then 6 o'clock and 2 o'clock. That is the Asian range. So it's training, but it's not just training. It's moving more sideways. This whole price action, if you look at it, all of this is just moving sideways. A bit of an expansion, range expansion, but it's just moving sideways. So then we can identify the body closes on the 50 minutes. So most of the time I'll use the body closes. So that's also something you knew. Look at the body closes, and then I'm using a projection tool. So just a fib that I've modified, don't worry about it, but placing at the bottom to the top. So I'm looking at the range. So this is now the Asian range. I'm looking at expansions of this range, equal moves. Using full expansion, so this is, if we just place a block around it, this is one project. So if we project this towards the upside, this would be one projection. And you can see there, one. We'll just make this a different color. And then we can have second one. Boom. That's two projections. So we can use this in combination with our 1 hour liquidity to get pinpoint entries. So we have the 1 hour zone, which is over here, and we can refine it even further to the full body candle. Remember what I said about full body candles? There's the full body candle. There is 1.5, so it's 1.5 expansions, projections of the Asian range. So we can just quickly put it in there. Just for completeness sake, we put it in there, just so that you can see. So this is then 1.5 expansions of the Asian range. There's 1.5. It's in that area. It's in our 1 hour liquidity type 2 profile. So there we have the confluence and confidence that price will reach this area, in and around this area, and then see that as the high of the day, of the session, potentially. So it's in line with the high time frame direction. We've done our 50-minute analysis. We've seen the price looking at the Asian session. We've looked at the way liquidity is. We've adjusted our order block. So now we have an area where price can potentially reverse from. Then, sorry about that. When we enter, we want to have our stop loss above the high or above the 1.5. But ideally, they're now above the high of the zone. So we have a placement for our stop loss. Our entry can be anywhere in the zone. We could place it all the way up at that 1.5. And then projections, target is then the Asian lows. That is then how we frame our trade, how we frame the setup. I changed this last time. Whatever. Let's just make this blue, a bit different. So that is then how we project the high of the session. If we just place this, the kill zones thingy thing, we want to see a high created in this gray area. So let's see what happened. I've just skipped forward, paused the video and skipped forward, but we can see that how perfectly priced came into that zone, and where did it stop? Exactly at our marked zone, exactly over there. We just place it exactly. Might be a pip or two off, but well, let's see, that is like less than a pip, half a pip. The price just reached it. Stop loss place, safe place. We can even have 1.5 pip stop loss and take profit at the Asian lows. There we have the Asian lows, take profit. So that is the aggressive way of entering. So we have our liquidity area marked out, 1 hour liquidity. We've identified that it's a type 2 liquidity profile. We then look for the 50-minute analysis, and we've identified how price has moved, and we know that we are bound to go lower towards the 50%. So we have the odds in our favor that price is potentially moving lower. And then if we now want to look for a 1 minute entry, I saw a lot of you did catch this entry, but I hope this will give you a bit more clarity on price action and how we trade now. So again, we can identify that we've reached this area. We can see we created equal lows, equal highs. We've swept those equal highs and we started pushing down, and we started breaking structure towards the downside. Structure break over there, and we have, it's not really a structure break, but almost a structure break. I think it's more like equal lows, so I'm not going to count that. And then we have our last buy to sell area. So second entry or confirmation entry would then be 50%, stop loss still above the zone, and then take profit again at the Asian lows. So we go to our 50 minutes time frame, we identify the Asian lows, and that is then the trade that we take. Because we know this liquidity below the Asian low, we haven't been below the Asian low yet. We know where our high is going to be for the session, or most probably can be for the session. We see that there. And then we know where to take profit. So how we manage the trade, take partials and so on, that will be in later videos. But just the overview of how we frame our trades and we identify and catch those trades. This projections only works when we have one of these profiles. So you can't just be placing this profile and just randomly entering at one of those levels. You can't do that. You have to couple it with the lower time frame patterns and confirmations, because you can see there's 0.5 and you could have said, okay, but there's an order block. Why didn't we take this order block? Why not this one? Or you could have said, okay, that's an old low, the one is just above it, so it will be a sweep, and you could have just entered over there thinking that that is going to be, but where do you place your stop loss? Understand? So you can't just blindly enter in on those trades. You need to couple it with the 1 hour profile, and this is then the 1 hour is then the order block with which we refined, and we have our previous high. So we have a type 2 order block, type 2 profile, and that is how we take the trade. Hope you guys understand it and hope it makes sense. I'm going to post this, and let me know if you have any questions. I'm not going to answer them directly because they will be answered and addressed in the bootcamp training when we go through more examples and more in-depth explanations. So I hope it made sense, and I hope you guys understood it. Thank you for watching, and yes, have a great day. Have a great weekend, sorry. Bye.